alginate brands and boxes. So on them, try really hard. This is the alginate brand that we have right now. Try really hard not to throw the box away, because really your go-to steps are gonna be on its container. So don't get rid of the box. Leave your alginate package in the box when you're done using it, so that everybody can have a reference. It's a smidge different for each one, but essentially you want like a loose taffy consistency as you're mixing your alginate. They always want you to pour the powder into the water. So this box I just read a second ago, it's kind of a 3-to-1 ratio. I've never used this kind. We're gonna go with it and see what happens here. I like to use medicine cups, 1 for small parts and 2 for using mixing stuff. So if this is a 3-to-1 ratio, I'm gonna use 3. Actually, I'm probably only gonna use 1, because I don't want to do tons here. I'm going to put 1 medicine cup of water in my mixing bowl. There's going to be different, that's close. There's going to be different pinch pots, and for time's sake and mess, this is the pinch pots. There's different sizes upstairs. You can reuse these so we don't waste tons of styrofoam. Use your pinch pots. Try and use the appropriate size when you're mixing alginate.
So when we need to mute, but you have a cute ball.
Because I am real to the brim on this, I'm gonna be not effective for our environment today. So that's 1 medicine cup. I'm going in with my medicine cup to pull my alginate. And since it's a 3-to-1 ratio, we're gonna guess. I'm guessing right now. I'm guessing half, and I have 3. I'm probably gonna have to put more water in here. I dump my powder in my mixture, and I'm gonna start stirring. If you use hot water, this is gonna set up really fast. And really, I'm taking a spoon, I'm pushing the sides of the cup as I'm stirring. I don't know if you can see in there, Tisha, as you video. And I'm stirring and stirring, and I feel like right now it's way too runny, so I probably need more mixture, but I'm just gonna stir a little bit here. This box is fast set, so it's making me nervous. Different alginates have different set times. I do know when you use warm water, it will set up way too fast. So use cold water, tap water, lukewarm water. Don't use warm water out of the faucet. Okay, so right now I'm at a consistency that's too thin. So I'm going back with more alginate powder, dumping it in, and I'm gonna keep stirring. And I'm pushing the powder against the sides of the walls of this styrofoam cup. I would be doing this in the pinch pot so that you can not waste and be kind to our environment. Those pinch pots are silicone.
iPhone.
I can't tell who that is. Somebody, so that you can wash out the pinch pots. Okay, so I feel pretty good about this. I'm not sure how well this is gonna set, but I will show you the consistency here. I'm mixing it until it's like you have no bubbles, you want no powder left. I'm just pushing it on the sides of the wall. And then what I'm gonna do is scoop out. So here's my consistency, right? It's floppy. It's like taffy. So since we have a small baby, I would use a medicine cup for this baby in this size. I'm gonna pour this into the medicine cup.
And do we have to prep her, and maybe you guys will get to this, do we have to prep her leg or foot or
So as
whatever?
far as the baby, size-wise, I think it's so nice you guys to have a second set of hands, but if I was doing a 22 to 24 week size baby, anything less than 24 weeks, I would probably be using this. Okay, so I poured all this in here. It's mint. I'm tapping this down. We got fancy. I know, it's mint. So I'm tapping. Can you see me tapping on the table? I'm tapping, 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 because I just want it to be firm or all settled down in the bottom.
I know, like air holes.
Yep. Tap, tap, tap. See how see here, there's a bubble in there, right? It's not the end of the world, but if there's bubbles in there and you get the baby part into the bubble, you're gonna have a funky form. So if you can tap this down, and get that to go away, it's better. Now I just have a smidge of a bubble. I'm okay with that. Okay, so let's say I have a little 24 weeker. You guys take one of our white things that we use, anything that you can wrap around the baby. I use gloves a lot because the baby won't stick to a glove. So I will wrap a baby in a glove and pull whatever part out that I have. So I will move this down a smidge, the baby in the glove here. I will wrap the baby in the glove, and pull out the part that I want. So these babies are, you know, we all know they're a little floppy. Give good support to whatever you have, wrap them and pull the part out. Essentially, I'm gonna introduce a foot straight down. I try and not go like this, or sorry, I try and go toe in first, because if you go straight down a baby's foot, dorsiflex up, and then you're gonna get this foot that looks like it's dorsiflexed up. So take a foot and you wanna go straight down with the toe first. Babies are not very forgiving, but once you get them in, I will get the baby's foot in. This is firm, so this is gonna go in really nicely. I get the foot in, but I will physically take my finger, and oh, this is already setting. I will take my finger and push this alginate around the baby's foot. So essentially, this is already set. This is fast set. This one for fast set goes fast, clearly. The non-fast set, so you sit here and you hold the baby's foot in place until it's like this consistency, really. You can put your finger on it. Can you move this down a little bit? You can put your finger on this and it feels like Jell-O. So you went from taffy consistency to Jell-O. And this set fast. I can already see, because this is a clear container, that I am too close to, there we go, to the side. You can see a little bit of the baby's foot on the side. So I know when I pour my plaster of Paris in here, I'm gonna have a funky looking toe. Appropriate size containers, I use these. I will sometimes use styrofoam cups and cut off half of the styrofoam cup so you have a little bit bigger container. And then use the pinch pots. There's different sizes in the Lost Cart.
That was like the second to smallest size.
Yeah.
So there's lots
And
of
there's
them.
lots of sizes in there, so use them so we can use them and clean them. So I know that this is not gonna turn out, essentially. I mean, we'll do this display and have it, and let you guys see what it turns out like, but I can tell that there'll be a mess in this because I can see the clear container. When you're introducing your part, your foot or your hand into the alginate, you want to try and stay away from the sides of the container if you can. That's real hard to do, but just try the best you can. That's why I like the clear containers. You can see it. A hand. I'm going to show you real quick with a hand. Actually, here, let's pull this out. So I know this is set. This is real set. It is way beyond the Jell-O consistency. When you go to pull the baby's part out, you will feel almost like a suction. You want to go slow. If you grab closer to the alginate, it will give you a better feel of what's coming. This one, yep. And you pull, you'll feel the suction of the baby's foot coming out. It feels like you're pulling and pulling. Just go slow, but all of a sudden you'll kind of feel like the suction release, and then you can slowly continue to pull up. Sometimes there'll be alginate left on the baby's foot. Oil gets it off really well. Oil is what I've always used, really. I really don't put tons of stuff on them before I introduce them into the alginate. I also try to get my footprints after this, because if you go and do footprints with the ink, you'll put that in here, you will have black on your plaster of Paris. So the baby's foot is out. We'll mix the plaster of Paris next. This is your mold. This is what you're pouring your plaster of Paris in. A hand. When you do a small hand, same thought. I introduce the knuckle side first, because the alginate pushes the baby's hand and it will close. If you go in like this with a baby's hand, palm down, you're gonna get a hand that is dorsiflexed up and it looks funky. So always turn your baby's hand around and introduce it. And when you introduce it into the alginate, you physically sometimes have to take your finger and push the part down and then cover it up with the alginate while it's still in that taffy consistency. So baby's part is out. When you're done, you can sometimes look into it and be like, oh shoot, I see white. When you're like, I can see through this, I can see where my hole is gonna be. And we'll leave this up on the unit to show, because it will take about 4 hours for the plaster of Paris to set. And we'll show you what this turns out like. So plaster of Paris.
The next, I don't know how to
Is everyone
turn this
following?
slide.
Okay, that's okay. So plaster of Paris. Do not do this over a sink. This will ruin our drains. Do it over a trash can. I have a trash can next to me right now. Plaster of Paris is super messy. I don't do alginate over a sink either. Stay over a trash can in whatever room you're in. We need to not have plumbing up here. We'll be in trouble.
So you do not have to put oil or anything on the foot
I
when
don't.
introducing.
Audrey, have you ever put oil? I don't
No?
because I
Okay.
think it can,
Mess with
I'm
the
worried about the
skin then, too.
consistency of what it's gonna do
Yeah.
to the plaster of Paris oil
Sure.
or the alginate.
Okay.
And
Okay,
not
so
fill in the
plaster of
holes.
Paris is very different. It's like cake. Like you don't need tons. I'm gonna only do it in here. You don't need tons of water to dilute plaster of Paris down. This is all I have right here. Honestly, I've never read what I need.
I know, I just make it like pancake consistency.
There's some instructions, yeah.
Yeah, so
There's some instructions in the book.
Small amounts of water for plaster of Paris. You have way more forgiveness on the alginate. Like I am barely putting a little bit in because I can always add more. And then you'll watch, I'm gonna stir it over the table, but you'll watch, if you start stirring, this plaster of Paris starts flying all over the place. See, I already know I need a little more water. So a small amount. Oh, I'm way
Like
too
on the
much.
side, you're just gonna make it into like a cake batter.
And then I see how thick or how thin that went really fast. If you keep turning and turning, the thinner your batter is, the thinner your plaster of Paris is, it won't harden. So let's see how I'm making a mess already. Okay, I need more of that. Is that alginate?
Yeah.
I put way too much water in there. And really you have a tiny little part that you're filling. So I am doing this in medicine cups. I could have done this in the pinch bowl. When you let the stuff dry after you have used the stuff, you can let it dry and it will pick out of the pinch bowl. You don't have to wash it in a sink. You can just scrape it out, wipe it out with a wet paper towel and be done with it. Yeah, no, yeah, don't see how messy I am? This is why we go over a trash can. Okay, so I maybe want a smidge more of a smidge.
You want some Bisquick pancakes,
Well,
not some.
That's a really good point.
Can you hold this?
It's like cake batter to me.
Yeah.
Can you
I
hold it? I
mean,
need to get into the principal meeting.
and I'll pull it up. I mean, I still feel like it needs to be a little thicker yet. The longer you wait, and you're again, the way I'm stirring is I'm stirring the plaster of Paris and pushing against the sides of the container that I'm using to try and mix it all in. The longer you wait and keep stirring, one, you're gonna create more bubbles, which is fine. Two, it will start to firm up or start to thicken on its own also. And I feel like this is a good consistency. So let me show you with a spoon. I made a mess. We'll do this. Okay, so here's my spoon, right? It is just kind of floppy. Like this is, it's okay. It could be a little thicker, but I would rather have it be a little bit on the thinner side. Then I can't drop this in there. Okay, so I feel like I'm mixed well. This is being recorded, you guys, from the top, so you'll be able to see a little bit better version too. Okay, so mixed well. Now, typically I like to let this sit and rest because the bubbles rise. I am tapping again with bubbles to try and get all the tiny micro bubbles out. So I will take this container and just tap it. See how the bubbles are coming up already? See those? And they'll pop. You just want to try and get as many of those tiny micro bubbles out of it as you can, because you'll see those micro bubbles in the mold after you unearth it. We might need to do a separate video of unearthing a mold and then attach it to.
And I do have a slide about it too. So.
Me too, on Earth. Do you want me to advance to the next slide or just still good?
Sure. I don't know where we're at on the slides. Okay, so I am pouring just a smidge amount, and that's why I like the pinch pots. You can bend them to pour. I'm pouring a smidge amount in here, a couple drops, right? You want to get it in there a little bit and just start tapping this to bring those bubbles and to make the plaster of Paris go down to all the parts that you have in your mold. Okay, so then I will fill it up to the top on my second pour, and I'm gonna tap again. Now, when you have your plaster of Paris up on the top of this, it's not a big deal at the end of the day, but when this hardens, that looks funny on the mold. So what I will do after I feel like I've tapped long enough, Sometimes I will turn the container sideways and tap sideways, tap sideways, tap sideways, tap sideways, keep tapping. It's a mess up here. So when you leave this like that, you can easily break this part off, but sometimes you break part of the leg off when they're tiny. So I'll show you what I do after I feel like you've tap, tap, tap long enough. See how much you do not need tons of plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris is cheap, you guys. It's cheaper. You can be more forgiving on this. It's almost kind of like a one and done mentality on baby with the alginate. Like it's a gift that we can give them, but I feel like if we continue to keep trying to get the perfect mold, you're never gonna get a perfect mold. We'll teach tips and tricks on what to do with molds that don't come out perfect. Something is better than nothing, but I get sad when knowing that we're out of alginate for the next one and we can't even attempt to do a mold with our next loss because we've tried too many times on somebody before. Okay, so I feel like I've tapped enough. You can see if you get close, there's micro bubbles up here. I'm okay, those will eventually pop. I take a paper towel or my finger and I will wipe this away. Oh, look at you with your paper towels. And I will just wipe this away so that you're down to the part that you poured in. And then I will take this and set it for 4 to 6 hours. You set it in a warmer, not sure where we're at on that, but in a blanket warmer at night, during the day, just make a little note, put a sticker on it. It will harden faster. So doing that is kind of what will help you for breaking when you unearth the mold. 4 to 6 hours it takes for that to set up. After that, we have tools upstairs that you guys can use for breaking away the alginate from the mold. If you do it too soon, sometimes it's more brittle. You really want to wait the 4 to 6 hours.
Did you find those dental tools?
There, I haven't looked. There was dental tools that Tisha
They
had
were in the back,
purchased.
but they're not back there. I looked.
Can't find them, they're missing.
Are you serious?
I looked today because I was gonna bring them down, but they were not in the back, so.
So we'll.
I do have some at home that I can bring.
The
so
disposable
my
disposable
sister-in-law's
scalpels,
down
if there's a
Janice.
disposable scalpel in the fetal loss cart, that's what I use the most. You can use your fingers, but once you get to the alginate, this whole alginate piece, once it's firm, will completely pop out of this medicine cup. On styrofoam cups, when I have a mold in a styrofoam cup, I know it's hard, I will break the styrofoam away from the alginate first and then start cutting into the alginate to get closer to the mold. If you cut too far, you cut a toe, you cut a finger, that's real frequent, so just be careful as you're cutting. As you're breaking away the alginate from the mold, sometimes you lose a finger and toe. There's gonna be tips and tricks. Super glue is amazing. You'd be surprised at how perfect you can get it to go back together.
I bought some Gorilla Glue.
Super glue will work a little better. That Gorilla Glue like expands, and then you can see that yellow orangish
orange,
part
yeah.
of the Gorilla Glue. Super glue.
Oh, I bought white.
Oh, I didn't know there was white. Okay, maybe that will work good. It's worth trying for sure. That's all I have essentially. I mean, the little tips and tricks. Put gloves on when you're mixing all of it. This is, if you read far enough, everything's cancerous. Use your gloves. Don't do any of this over the sinks. Please, please, please use a trash can. It's messy. It really is messy. Ask for a friend to help you. It gives you so much better holding and getting a baby's cart into the mold. This takes all of 5-10 minutes to physically do this and then set it aside and walk away.